Welcome back to Truth to Life podcast. This is episode number 4. And today in the studio, we have a special guest, Eliza Truth. Welcome.
Hey, super pumped to be here and the first guest on this podcast. Today, I'm here to talk about the silent majority.
We're pumped to have you. So you want to tell us a bit about the silent majority?
The silent majority are really getting under my skin, especially this week. And I think it's because, I get it. I get why people don't want to speak out. It's confrontational. It's, you're putting yourself out there for judgment. There's people talking behind your back. It's hard. It's easy at the end, it's easier now than say in 2020. Because way more people are on board now. They get it. They're reaching out to you saying, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying or you're posting. But hey, 2020 was a lonely year for the truth community. There was lots of, judgment and teasing and
it was definitely lonely for sure.
But so I get why the silent majority doesn't want to speak out, but it really frustrates me at times. Like in my humble moments, I'm thinking, everyone has a part to play during this movement. Like some people's parts to play, they're not the frontline people, they're not the truthers that put themselves out there, but they're just they keep the vibes high. But I think, while we're actually facing lockdown this week, I look at those people, I'm like, no, it's time for you now. Like every single person has a circle of influence. It might be like 3 or 4 people, but every single person, that silent majority that's not speaking out because they're worried their family's going to judge them, their friends are going to judge them, their community group's going to judge them. Like how many people are you missing out on influencing and allowing them to be brave? And maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so's speaking out. Like I feel the same as them. And then they feel brave and speak out.
It's like a chain reaction, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's 100% chain reaction.
Especially if you see someone on your Facebook and you're like, wow, I didn't even know they had that point of view or they were like with the movement or anything like that. So that would help you to speak out, and it just takes one person, doesn't it? And after that, it's like another person speaks out and another person shares their truth, and before you know it, it's, everyone's out there doing it.
Yeah, like you and I, we're on the front line. We're completely out the closet, I guess, as people would say. And you and I, we have between us like 1 to 4 people every week coming out and saying, I appreciate what you're sharing. I feel the same way too. Like I don't interact with your posts and I don't speak out myself, but I feel the same way you do. And they're always like moments that make you feel like, yes, like it's all worth it, because it can feel pretty lonely and frustrating. It would be like, I really look at the people this week that have said to me, they've really enjoyed this week and it's been so like relaxing just to be home and slow down. And I completely empathize with that. But I think, I won't swear on your podcast, but I think...
No, you can swear. It's all good. I can get the adults only edit.
Well, I think, fuck, I would love to have a peaceful week at home with my family, just relaxing and, but I can't. Like there's just this inner calling. Like this is the time to speak out. Like every time this happens, like they're upping the ante. This is a timeline. Like we can't afford just to sit back and relax and do nothing and miss that opportunity to reach that one more person that then, might become activated and then reach their circle of influence.
Yeah, definitely.
But I really feel like deep in my heart that this whole period, it's like a personal growth boot camp. Like to be bearing all in front of everyone and they know exactly what you think and exactly where you stand and exactly where your integrity is and you're walking your talk. The people that are surrounding you know exactly who you are and they still love and support you regardless. People that are in the silent majority, and this is just one issue. We know that there's a ton of controversial issues that people are in the closet about. This is just the biggest one at the moment. If they're so worried about their family or their friends or their community group, like turning their back on them when they reveal who they really are, what kind of authentic life are those people living?
Yeah.
I would rather have no one in my life, than be surrounded in people that don't know really who I am.
Yeah, don't know your true authentic self.
No, and it's scary. Like the first time you put out a post and you get someone like arcing up at you or, saying things that make you feel like you look dumb or whatever. Like that's really confrontational, and I get that. But each time it just gets better and better and better. And it's about living your life authentically. It's about making genuine connections. It's about speaking from the heart instead of just speaking from the head and like putting up this facade of who you are or who people think you are. Yeah, I truly believe this movement. That's what it's about. Like each individual person, like to the silent majority, no one's going to save you. Like at the end of the day, if it's just the brave people on the front line speaking out and that's all that ever happens, like eventually repercussions will come to those people if more people don't join them. And then what's going to happen then? What's the silent majority going to do then? We're already seeing on our most used platforms for sharing information and connecting, like Facebook and Instagram, are becoming more and more censored. Like, how long is freedom of speech even going to be around for? It's about looking where we're at right now and thinking, what is our kids' future going to look like? I mean, that's what we're doing this for. We care about our kids' future. We're willing to put everything on the line, our reputation, our friendships, what people think of us, because we're thinking about our kids. At the end of the day, I'd rather lose every person out of my life that judge me. And at the end of the day, I'll turn to my kid and know that I've done everything I can to ensure that she has the best future possible. Because at the moment where we're heading, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen until people start living authentically and speaking their truths and influencing their circle of people that will then speak their truths and so on. No one's going to save you. You can't ride on the curtails, if that's what the saying is.
Yeah, right. Coattails.
It wouldn't be like a segment from me if I didn't say some sort of regular saying wrong.
I'll be able to back you up on those.
It wouldn't be like that. It's like no one's going to save you. Like you don't get to ride behind someone and then just jump in on the glory ride when everything's come to a good place. Like we got ourselves in this mess because people live in ignorance.
Definitely.
People stick their head in the ground and, just live in a nice life, and they're not plugging into the truth.
Yeah, they just don't want to ruffle any feathers. That's what it is. There's a lot of people out there that they're not people pleasers, but they just don't want to. They just want to like exist in society and just kind of navigate around and not really like cause any confrontation. They definitely don't like confrontation. And yeah, they don't. I guess they don't have a voice, but they probably don't really know even why they don't have a voice. They've, like you said, they've just never exercised that muscle of their, their person or their body. The only way you get more comfortable at speaking out and saying stuff is, like you said, you've got to start. You start somewhere, and you will get a lot of, kickback and friction, but eventually it gets easier.
I think humans are just, actually overall just really, good beings that just want happiness and
definitely and
harmony between one another. So this is just a really uncomfortable place for a lot of people. But the problem is we are here, we are where we are, and some very like evil people have just taken advantage of the kind-natured spirit of human beings and the naivety and the gullible nature perhaps of humans, and now we find ourselves where we are. So we have to get ourselves out of this mess. And I really think plugging into, our instincts and, hey, if you're one of the people that you don't feel like anything's going wrong and, you just want to follow all the government directives, that's fine. You fall in cohort 4. But if you are, there's a bit of thunder in the background.
Nice.
If you are in the silent majority, it's time to activate. And it's whether it's just a story, like a story on your social media, like that's pretty non-confrontational thing to do. Yeah. At least only if only one person arcs up at you or whatever, no one else is going to see it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's where I started. Like, it's probably, what date are we? July. Geez, almost probably a year and a half I've been putting up on my story. And that was mainly the reason why I did that, because to like put them up on my story was so that I wasn't ramming it down people's throats by putting it on my wall, but also it was just like a little avenue that people could come to if they wanted to see it. But the story is a good place to definitely start if you want to put something out there and you don't want to be, like you said, having a platform where everyone can see it. It's more just like secured a little bit more if you feel maybe a little bit safer. So yeah, it's definitely a good spot. That's why I still use it. It's very, very effective, and
it's passive. People can choose to look at it if they don't, but it's not just like going to be bam up in their face on the news feed. When I'm talking about the silent majority, I don't have any specific friend or family member or anyone that I'm thinking thinking of in mind. Like, so if you're listening, you think, she's talking about me. Like, I'm not. I'm thinking about everyone as a collective. And, you know, some of this might come across maybe a little bit harsh or a little bit judgmental on my behalf, but, you know, we're on a short podcast and I've got to generalize quite a lot. But I also have to just trust that what's coming to me in this moment is what I'm meant to say. And I guess I'm not overthinking it, and I'm taking my own advice, and I'm not worrying too much about how other people receive it. I wanted to finish off with a quote from the Instagram page, Tay's Way. If you're not following her, she's an amazing inspiration and a warrior woman. And yeah, she's all about the peace. She says, "We all place ourselves in danger to one degree or another when we stand up, but we place our children and grandchildren in even greater danger when we don't." I think that really summarizes what the message is here today.
Wow, great podcast, Eliza Truth. Appreciate you coming through and blessing the listeners and imparting some knowledge on all of us. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me at Truth to Life Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Me and Facebook are at war at the moment. They've shadow banned my page for some unknown reason. So if you want to help me fight censorship and fight for freedom of speech, you need to come direct to the page, Truth to Life Podcast. It's not going to show up on your walls. The algorithm's obviously been changed so that it's not coming up on anyone that follows the page, even that likes the page. So if you come direct, interact with the posts, share the content, that's the only way we're going to fight back. And basically, freedom of speech is in grave danger in 2021. I think you can all see that now, the cancel culture, all the stuff that's been going on the last 18 months. It's not a good place. But you know what? We can all do our bit to fight back. And this is where it starts. People speaking out, people telling their truths, and don't be afraid.